Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hey everybody, good evening from the heart of Arizona desert under the clearest UFO watching skies in the world, and all our listeners tuning in from across the globe. Welcome to Space.Radio. I'm your host tonight, Josh Rutledge, filling in here at SOR Command Post while Dave is under the weather. I think he got buried in a snowbank. I'm not entirely sure. But we're here for you tonight. We've got a great guest coming up. Going to be talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. It's going to be a fantastic evening as I fill in here for Dave and do the best that I can. So let's go ahead and take a look at the YouTube chat and see how things are going. I see Kitty Cattywhack coming in. Got T-Bone. Hello, everybody. Filthy. Walter Skobanowski, probably saying that wrong. I apologize, people. I apologize. Race fan. Yep. Let's see. We got East Coast Turnaround. Skip to Maluski. Probably doing all the things that Dave would do, because I'm not Dave, but I am Josh, or the UFO Wizard, as most of you probably know me. Got Paramarv coming in. Search and Destroy. Wow, got a lot of folks in chat tonight. I hope everybody is smashing that like button, because, you know, you got to show me some love since I'm the first time hosting the show. So, yeah. We got just a few minutes here. We're going to get the radio side started. Yeah, just going to roll on through. We got a great, like I said, great guest for you tonight. Going to be talking about the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Then, of course, in hour 3, it'll be just me talking about the UFO report. So you'll have to hear me ramble on for about an hour. But I think it'll be a good show. We'll get into some good stuff. So, yeah, I'm not really sure where to go from here. I'm just going to keep talking. I hope everybody had a good weekend, you know, as we kick off the week. The Monday, a lot of stuff happened over the weekend with myself. I hope everybody else had a good weekend. I got to go to some basketball games and with my kids. And I actually went out to a friend's house and did some really interesting stuff. We tried to bring in some dark entities to see what they were doing. And I'm pretty sure one of them followed me home. So that was an interesting couple of nights. But yeah, hope everybody's doing well tonight. And yeah, I'm a little bit of a deer in headlights. So I appreciate y'all hanging in there with me as I kind of figure this thing out for myself. Appreciate all the love in the chat. Really appreciate it. Kitty Caddywhack. Thank you, Josh, for filling in. I really appreciate that. I think it'll be an interesting night, but it's going to be a good one. And yeah. I'm trying to remember all the things that that Dave does around various times. This is like a crash run, so really appreciate it. 30 seconds until we kick off the radio side, and then we'll be into the evening, into the guest, and talking about again the Dyatlov Pass Incident. I actually know quite a bit about this, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what my guest has to say. And I'm going to figure out how to promote things to the screen. I don't know how to do that. Oh, this is a 20 second, 5 seconds. Here we go on the radio side. Good evening, everybody, from the heart of Arizona desert under some of the clearest UFO watching skies in the world, and to listeners tuning in from across the globe. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host tonight, Josh Rutledge, filling in here at the SOR command post while Dave is under the weather. To all of our terrestrial radio affiliates across North America, extraterrestrials across the galaxy, and to everyone catching us digitally on your favorite podcast platform, thank you for spending your night with us. Make sure to visit our home online at space.radio.com. You'll find all the essentials there, our newswire, our full show lineup, archives, and of course, the SOR swag shop. So you can be sure you'll look good when you meet the Nordics or visited by the men in black. You can follow Space.Radio on social media, on X at Space.Radio, and on Instagram at Space.Radio Show. And if you want to go deeper within the community, check out the Space Travelers Club on Patreon. Tonight's program is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by supporting them. Find them on our website. We've got a great show lined up, so let's settle in and let's get started. All right. Welcome into the show, Teddy. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, everybody. Well, I'm back. It has been only 2 weeks or so. So just let's say that yesterday was the 67th anniversary of the tragedy. So this is like 67 years, and we're no closer to figuring out what happened in that cold February night in the northern Urals. I believe most of you know what is the official version and the case files, and why is that mystery so big, and it doesn't seem to get any closer to anybody figuring it out. But it's not that we're in the dark, but that everybody has a different opinion of how they died and why. And to me, that's the most strange and bizarre aspect of the Dyatlov Pass, that whatever comes to mind, you can apply it to how they die, from UFOs, Yeti, Love Triangle, KGB, Special Forces, espionage. Something went wrong with the secret weapon testing site, mushrooms, religious killing, anything like wolverines, even birds kill them, and anything that you can think of, you can find something a fact, evidence, document, witnesses, something said, and you can say, yeah, that killed them. Like, for example, deer trampled over them, or the stove that they carried and actually was supposed to be used in the tent exploded, or it was using the bad fuel, or anything. Like big movies and books talk about infrasound. Anything that comes to mind, you can apply to that case. And at the beginning, I was like, come on, people. I mean, we see that that's not what happened, because it doesn't explain all the strange other aspects that we know as a fact. I'm dealing with this case for 13 years now, and right now, I'm just trying to keep some control over what's factual and what are the sources of the information we have. That's why the website, dyatlovpass.com. Then there is a forum, because this case is usually discussed into a wide circle of people that everybody insists on their theories. But I promise Dave, poor Dave, that I'm going to answer questions in this episode. So I welcome questions. Otherwise, I'll take up the whole time and I'll talk whatever comes to mind. So please start with the question.
Something that always got me really interested was the fact that they were found naked, or without some of their clothes on. Do you know maybe why? Like, what would have possessed them potentially to, in that cold, extreme environment, to want to take their clothes off?
They were not, well, two bodies. Let's start with the fact that there are no simple answers. So two bodies are found with skin naked, waist down, I mean, just with underwear. Their underpants are found on other people's bodies or just torn apart. So this is a big controversy. Who was, were they dead when they took off their clothes? And a lot of things are said about the very barely clad two bodies of the Yuri Krivonishenko and Doroshenko that were found first. Then everybody else was wearing what you usually wear when you go to sleep in a tent in the middle of the winter, which means nobody was butt naked, but they were just not wearing any jackets, any hats, scarves, gloves. They were running around in their socks. There were even clothes that didn't belong to them, but it's not like, because everybody says, well, the ones that died, the rest are kind of sharing their clothes. They knew their friends won't mind. No, it's not like that. It's people that died at the same time from the same blow were exchanging clothes, or we don't even know for sure that these clothes were found on their bodies, because recently we have been going through photos that were made on the scene. So they're like hats in the photo besides the head of Zolotaryov, one of the dead hikers. And then these hats are described during the autopsy that they were actually on the head of Zolotaryov. And there was a big discussion, because every small detail is a big discussion in this case, is that, come on, he was not wearing those. Why are the autopsies describing that they were on top of him? Because it's not their hat, it's not his hat, it's somebody else's hat. So the big question is, did he actually remove the hat of that poor girl and put it on himself because she was dead, he was not? Or are they actually having some kind of a fight or something? So it's not, just to answer your question, because everybody goes straight to paradoxical undressing. It's not that, because although they seems to have cut their tent from the inside and gone out and then slowly go down for a mile in their socks or underwear, usually if you undress in the tent and walk for 2 hours, you don't get any better and make a fire and make a bivouac, snow cave and try to survive, because this seems to be the case that happened 2 hours after they left the tent. But um, in this case, you can question everything. Like, you can question if the tent was there, pitched by the hikers themselves, or somebody else moved it after they found the bodies. There is no certainty at the beginning, because this is what I believe at the beginning, that they pitched the tent in a very windy place, that it got really cold, or they got scared, or something happened, because you cannot explain why in the middle of the night. Because of the contents of their stomachs, and because they ate like 6 to 7 hours prior to their death, and because they were always putting entries in the diaries. So there were no entry in any diary. They had a group diary and personal diaries. There was no entry in any of the diaries from the date when we consider the time of death, which is the night from the 1st to the 2nd February. This is why it's the anniversary yesterday was. So there are no entries, there are no photos, everything, because they were chatty. They were making a lot of photos and they were making a lot of entries. And the day when they died, they were supposed to go to their final destination, Otorten. This is the peak that they were supposed to ascend. And they were supposed to have a good rest, very easy day prior to the ascent, and then to go and come back. And they, at the time, this is happening in 1959, you prove that you have been to a peak by leaving a note. So the next group that goes to the same peak, they find the note, they bring it back to civilization, and then they mail it to the sports club that the group that left the note belongs to. And when the group of Dyatlov, Igor Dyatlov, didn't show up at the control date, and all the unprecedented search operation flew from Moscow, Sverdlovsk, and wherever, that was like, no way you go to look for missing hikers on the top of the 21st Congress of the party with so many people and Air Force. But that's what happened, because Khrushchev wanted to show that they care. So when they went there, they first went to Otorten to see if they have been there already. They didn't know where to look for the group. So they found the note that was left from the previous group that went to the peak in the summer. And the note says, this is the composition of the group. We're from whatever institute, and please mail the note back to, and this is the address and the date when they were there, like in July, or I don't remember exactly. So the Dyatlov group doesn't seem to have been to Otorten, but there is buts everywhere in this case. But there is no single fact that cannot be questioned. But when you go on top of Otorten, it looks like this. So this is all of the peaks look like that, and they have outlier rocks on top of them, because the wind and the rocks, and this is just what this part of the northern Urals looks like. A lot of big outlier rocks. This is where the plaque in memory of the Dyatlov group also stays, in such an outlier rock. So on the Otorten, there are two big outliers that join, and they form like a portal. So this is a portal to another dimension or whatever. I mean, it's considered that you should not go through the portal, because when you go back, it's a gate, not a portal, a gate, the Otorten gate, because when you come back, someone else that looks like you from another dimension will come back, and you're not the same. And this explains a lot of the wrong entries, like the dates. Things are strange in the diaries. That's because no one had the social media or something to check, like a phone to check. They were just writing with pencils in their diaries in -50 Celsius. So you can imagine what that does to, and in a poor light, because when there was light, they were cooking, they were doing their camp and everything. So I don't even imagine where they had to find the time to write in their diaries. but we see them doing that. Like Zina Kolmogorova has this beautiful, well, she's beautiful on all of the photos. They're young, they're just so charming, but everybody is in the mountain at this age. And she's writing in the diary during a break in the day. So it's supposedly, they didn't go to Torten. They didn't write that note that they were supposed to live there. Because when you ascend in the middle of the winter during blizzard storms and everything, you don't write the note at the top because you don't write the time when you were there. You just prepare the note, you put it in your breast pocket, the leader, and when they go there, which is usually very windy, you just find some place, you stick the note, and you go right back. You don't write it, but they didn't write that note. What they wrote, like last, dated by the group document, is a satirical pamphlet that it's called Ivniko Torten, and this it's dated February 1st. So supposedly it's also called a combat leaflet, because this is very usual for the war times, when you write things, funny things, to uplift the spirits of the everybody, and you stick it to the wall. So they wrote something that resembled of a newspaper they found in the pocket of Zolotaryov. That was called so Ivniko Torten is actually a joke. And they wrote there about the Yeti. We're now in the land where Yeti lives. Also, they wrote, because that was taken very seriously, and even a movie was made after this note in the satirical leaflet. In that same document, they say, let's increase the birth rate among hikers in the name of the 21st Congress of the party. They make jokes about everything, like the Armenian joke, can 9 tourists warm up with, I don't know how many blankets, because they didn't have enough blankets. So it's all a joke. And that was the last document that they wrote. No note for Torten. So that's why we're judging maybe they died during night. So your initial question, I remember it, was about the clothes. So they supposedly destroyed their tent from the inside with a knife to get out faster, because what other reason would you put up your tent? I mean, you can't take shelter in that tent anymore. It's destroyed. You go out, and then the second thing that I want to spend some time on are the footprints. So there are footprints that are going down the slope. Those footprints are very suspicious, because they're not like one is going in the track of the person before them, as you usually do in the snow, because it's easier to walk, or because you're in the dark, you have never been on that side of the path, you don't know what's in front of you. Usually you go in the footsteps of the person in front. No, these steps are abreast. 4 people are going very slowly. Nobody is running, limping, panicking, going. They just like, they're going calmly and talking. This is what the footprints look like. So they cut up the tent in panic or something. Then they go very slowly down on the side of the mountain they have never been to, in the middle of the night, for a mile. And then they don't even stop when they go in the forest, in the tree line zone. They go down in a ravine, they go up, and it's really hard to walk in this deep snow, really hard. They don't have shoes, they don't have skis, they don't have anything, but they keep going. And then they make a fire under a big cedar tree. They don't feed the fire. The fire is said to have burned for 20 minutes, 30 minutes max, with a big log, a lot of trees laying around, firewood. But just the fire stops burning, and you start finding the bodies around it. So at what point did they actually leave their clothes? The clothes are in the tent. So this is like 2 hours prior to going down. So if they're freezing, if they can't walk, if they're suffering, Why not go back, take shoes and clothes? But there is another thing. All the events, if you just look at them, all the known events, if you look at them separately, are survivable. There is a group that Zina Kolmogorova and Zolotaryov were supposed to go with, Sogrin's group. That group had a more challenging route for longer. That's why, for some reasons, these two hikers opted out to go with Igor Dyatlov, maybe because in the group was the ex-boyfriend of Zina. That's why she went with Dyatlov. Maybe Zolotaryov, we know that's many years after that. Zolotaryov was exhumed, and I mean exhumation from the grave. Nothing suspicious was found, but he was exhumed from his grave. And around that time, it was looked very closely about what we know about him, and turned out that he just had a baby out of wedlock. He wasn't married to the woman, the mother of the baby, and that baby disappeared because they were looking for who to take DNA samples from to compare with. So we know that the time of Zolotaryov joined that group, he was 38. Actually, he died on his 38th birthday. Like yesterday, when it was his birthday, and he died on his birthday. And when he joined the group, he wanted shorter route so he can go back to his baby, because the mother of the baby got really angry with him that he's going on expeditions and doesn't stay home. So she actually handed the baby. Actually, she left the baby on the doorstep of his mother. So his mother took the baby. Then Zolotaryov didn't come back from the expedition, and the baby was given for adoption, and it's lost forever. So that man joined the group, and he wanted a shorter expedition because he wasn't going for the thrills of the hiking like all the rest of the 20-year-old. I mean, Igor Dyatlov was 23, and everybody else was around that age or younger. The youngest was 21 or 20. Doroshenko, no, Lyuda Dubinina is the youngest one. Anyway, so around that age. And so he wanted to go with Igor Dyatlov for a shorter trek. So I was saying that Sogrin's group, they burned their tent on the second day of the expedition. They burned it down like by incident, by mistake. And they continue the hike for 10 days. They slept in snow caves, in bivouacs, and somebody got sick, but like Dave, he survived. And they went back and actually made the first winter ascents of Neroika and Sablia. So it was a successful expedition. So what I'm saying, that these hikers, they could survive without a tent. That wouldn't kill them. Well, of course, you shouldn't go without shoes. I mean, the
Right.
the way they left the tent, it's absolutely unexplainable. Why they left their clothes and shoes? I'm saying that only if the tent got damaged, burned out, or they just were without the tent, they could survive. But everything else, like even their mental state, should be fine to take the right decision, to make the right decision, and to do whatever it takes to survive. So if I fast forward, I mean, after 13 years of deliberation about this case, the only thing that I can add in the mixture that can tie up the things that nothing else can explain, because I have a completely different theory. It's not the tent is not there. These footprints are not theirs. I have a completely different theory about what happened. But to explain absolutely everything, even their behavior, you have to add stress to the equation. Like they were so under some kind of extreme incident happening that they couldn't make
Well,
right decisions.
to cut you off here, we're going to go to break. This is Teddy from DyatlovPass.com. In the next half hour, your questions on Space Radio. I'm Josh Rutledge, filling in for the ailing Dave Scott. All right. Do I hear a phone ringing? Or am I... Does anybody else hear a phone ringing?
I
I don't
do.
know.
I hear it, but it's not mine.
Okay. That's so weird.
It's not me. I'm on mute mostly.
Yeah. I don't know where it's coming from. Oh, well.
It's just the FBI checking in.
Yeah.
So we're, I can get up, right?
Yep. We've got a little bit of break. Be back in about 4.5 minutes.
Okay. Josh, just ask me questions that you're interested in. Okay. So,
Yep.
and I will really appreciate if you give me the chance to talk about the footprints because I have a lot to say. I mean, a lot of people are asking me questions, and I have something to say about the footprints. But anyway,
Okay.
okay. Ask me questions because I can trail off.
Hope everybody is having a good time tonight with our guest. A lot of great information is coming through for sure. Also, I found the ringer. It was coming from a window that I had opened with a timer on it.
So does that mean muffins are ready?
Yeah. Yeah, my time was up. So
Josh, you're telling us the muffins are ready?
Yeah, the muffins.
Are they blueberry?
The Muffin Man is going to come and get the muffins. They are for the space aliens. Space aliens like I think mango muffins. That seems like a space alien thing. I don't know if mango would be good as a muffin, but you know.
I'll have to incorporate that into my cartoons with Carl, Stanton, and Alan. Like that's their favorite brand of mushroom is mango mushrooms, mango muffins.
Oh, I just pulled that out. It's like something whispered in my ear, maybe. So when we get back, Teddy, I've got a couple of questions queued up from the audience. So
please,
we'll jump right back
into
one and get going. Okay.
There are no uncomfortable questions. There are no any. You can ask me anything.
Okay. We've got quite a few questions that have come in. So when we come back, we'll start off with one and kind of go from there.
Okay. Have you seen UFOs?
I have.
Seriously?
Seriously. Yep. I mean, UFO defined as an unidentified thing. I haven't seen like a metallic craft or any of that kind of stuff, but yeah. I saw a light that was at arm's length, the size of a quarter, so like maybe like $1 or quarter coin, at arm's length, bright white in the sky. Was not the moon. I know what the moon looks like. And it just sat there for about 10 seconds, and then it zipped straight up. And when it did, it left a cone of white light behind it or below it, and then the tip of that cone of white light followed it, like it then zipped up, like it was attached to it in some way. It was the most peculiar thing.
At arm's length, what do you mean?
So if like how big it was in the sky, if I were to take a quarter and hold it at arm's length and look at it, that's how big it was in the sky. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. How about yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
No, never. I mean, I'm nearsighted not very nearsighted, but usually I'm not sure in what I see. Like when I see things, I'm not so sure like you, if it's the moon or some reflection or something else. And usually I don't believe in things until they happen to me. There's so much happening in my life. Like things, if they can break, they break right where I am. I have been in avalanches. I was in a car accident that I died in Indonesia. They actually
Okay,
called Chris for me.
I'm going to stop you because we're coming right back here.
Go ahead.
And welcome back, everybody, to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. As Josh Rutledge said, filling in for Dave tonight, and we've got with us Teddy from DyatlovPass.com talking to us about the Dyatlov Pass Incident. And like when we said we're coming back, we were going to get to some questions from the chat audience, and so the very first one we want to get to right off the gate is from Para Marv. And he says, I understand that the different bodies show different levels of decomposition. Is that correct? And then second part, any correlation to the radiation levels the bodies had? Oh, Teddy's muted. Okay, there you go. We're good.
The first bodies, like we say that there are two groups of bodies. The first 5 were found a month after they died. And then the second group of 4 bodies were found 3 months after they died. So hence the different level of decomposition. I mean, everything in the state of the bodies is natural, normal, but there is a lot of speculation, and you're going to read, the first thing that you're going to read about this case from sensational articles, books, and whatever, that there were missing eyeballs and missing tongue, and the keyword is missing, not cut out, not ripped out, it's missing. They were found in the river. I mean, we're talking about the last 4 bodies that were found 3 months after they died. And they were left at the elements. They were found under 2-4 meters of snow. I mean, they have been there for the last 3 weeks. They have been in the water because they were going down, 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 and the snow was melting. In May, it's already in. They were in the water. So the girl that was found with missing tongue and eyeballs, her face was in the water, and her mouth was open, and all of the doctors, every coroner, anybody with some medical background agrees that it's absolutely normal for bodies to be found in such a state. The eyeballs and the tongue are the soft tissues that goes first. If you're exposed to birds, the birds are gonna get them. If you're in the water, there's all kinds of creatures during winter that live under the snow, and they feed with anything they can find. So another thing that you're going to read and hear about the bodies is their unnatural color. So because the last bodies, now here we come here to a very interesting point in this case. Why did the lead investigator order radioactive analysis on the last 4 bodies? Why not on the first bodies? Well, he actually made the histology samples, ordered to histology samples to be sent to a laboratory, but we didn't get the results back for the first group. Then the second group of 4 bodies that was found in May, they came back with clothes showing radioactive contamination. Now, here's the question. Did all of the samples show contamination, or just the 3 clothes that were reported, which were 2 sweaters and pants? These clothes were not found on the body of the people that brought them to the hike. They were a part of the exchanging clothes thing. And for example, we have a sleeve of radioactive contaminated sweater that was found wrapped around the foot of the girl with the missing tongue and eyeballs. So what made the lead investigator ask for radioactive contamination analysis? That was one question. Second, did the discoloration of the bodies have anything to do with the radioactive exposure or something like that? The answer to the second question is that when bodies are defrosted after being dead, frozen dead in outside, they usually go through the decomposition in a much faster pace, and they do get discolorated, like gray and yellowish. And I have in an article, I have outlined all of the recollections of any kind of discoloration seen on the bodies from the Dyatlov group. And you can see them, they're grayish, brickish, brownish, yellowish, reddish. They're normal for bodies that have been in such circumstances. It's nothing unnatural. Now, the first question, why did the lead investigator order the radioactive contamination analysis? That's more interesting. And it has something to do with the interest of our hosts, the UFOs. And it's a really serious trace in this case with UFOs. The lead investigator published article 30 years after he closed the case that the source of the deadly whatever that killed the hikers should be looked into extraterrestrial sources, that he believes that this was a beam of some kind of weapon that he saw burn tops of trees, and that beam selectively attacked some of the hikers. Things like that. It's like totally bonkers. But he starts the article like, you should take me seriously. I'm a serious man. I don't believe in the little green man. But they were killed with energy source that came from the skies. And at that time, in 1959, there were a lot of sightings of UFOs in the skies, like a lot of lights. The searchers were asking with telegrams, should we know something? Are there any testing doing in the skies? Do you know about this? But there are floating objects in the skies, and there were scenes that looked very much like the tent that was found ripped open, and the people, the hikers from the Dyatlov group going without shoes outside, when one of the students that were searching for their bodies went to pee or something outside the tent, and he saw lights in the sky. A light. We're not talking like the northern lights or something like. Because people that live there, they know what a northern light or usual things. They reported something that they have never seen before, and that moved like controlled by something, like floating here, rotating here, then going someplace. So they were reporting this. The party stopped and removed all of the newspaper reports and everything like that. They were still clipping and reports remaining to this day in the case files. And I
want to real quick, while we're talking and still kind of on the topic of the bodies, I have another question here that I think is related. And I'm going to put that on the screen now. It's concerning the missing tongue. Did autopsy or any other report details concerning its removal? Was it cut out cleanly with a sharp knife? Was it ripped out by an extremely pulling ripping strength? Just, generally about, that tongue issue.
I said missing. This is what the autopsy report says. That's the thing. In the case files, we have only 2 professionally done analysis. One is of the tent. It was brought to a laboratory. After someone said, oh, that's cut from the inside, they actually sent it to a laboratory, and we have expert looking and describing all of the cuts, not all of the cuts, but some of the cuts on the tent. And the second serious professionally done documents in the case files are the autopsy reports. They're really, one thing that we should consider, like, okay, at least we can take our basic facts from the autopsy reports, because there's nothing else that's done by experts. There are no photos of the footprints of the tent, of anything. The lead investigator didn't take any photos, not of the bodies, not anything. The students that were there took photos of all that we see nowadays, and they were popping in internet. Like these are not like chain of evidence, whatever they do in usually in criminal cases. So the autopsy reports, it's one of the few things that we have. And about the tongue, it says missing. That's it, missing, not cut, not ripped, not it's missing. And parts of her also some tissues on the face are missing. I just I want to ask all of the people that seriously are interested in this case and have some time to spare, just look for yourself into the documents, because I went through the trouble to collect them, transcribe them in Russian, in English. You cannot blame like, oh, I don't understand the language. No, go there and look for yourself. Just in my site, there is a search. Just type tongue and you will go straight into the autopsy report and you see what it's written there. Because I may be the expert, but what my mentors in this case actually taught me, that the expert in the Dyatlov case is when it points you to the source, where to look for the first source of information. So don't believe me, don't take my word for that, don't cite me, just say the autopsy report says missing, not Teddy says missing. I'm not the expert in anything. My profession is doing websites, and I'm a designer, and I have OCD. I mean, I have to arrange everything. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I can't make sense of this case. And I'm arranging all of the facts and documents that I can find and help you point where to look for it. Everything is on my side. I have nothing that I'm hiding for people like, okay, I know more than the rest. So keep asking me. It says missing in the autopsy report.
Kind of along with the body question, are there still remnants of the bodies that people are still looking at to try to, like, has anybody exhumed anybody or anything like that to try to continue to look at the case?
Yeah, I understand. This case is so surrounded, it's such an enigma, because everybody says, well, it was classified for 30 years. Only after the Glasnost and Gorbachev and whatever, it was declassified, and we can look at the case files and everything. So one of the things that the Komsomolskaya Pravda is one periodical, a Russian radio that's very big and very invested, and their chief director was really obsessed by this case. So he appointed two journalists that were doing just that. So what they did, they found a loophole into the documents that Zolotaryov was not listed in the registry of the cemetery. And they helped the relatives to file a request for exhumation. You can't go exhume bodies in Russia. I mean, I hope anywhere like that. Oh, I have a hint, I'm going to exhume this body. No, for Zolotaryov, they found this bureaucratic loophole. They allowed it, and they exhumed the body, and everybody was expecting that there is not going to be a body there, or it's going to be somebody completely different, or there are going to be discrepancies with the autopsy report. So there is going to be some base for reopening the case, like, okay, so who is in that grave? There is no grave, there is no body, whatever. We were expecting zinc coffins because of the radioactivity and something like that. And the whole world was like real time watching the exhumation. And there was an expert who did on the spot at the cemetery. He did skull superimposition. I don't know if you know. So he took a good quality photo of the person in that we believe it's in the grave, and he took his skull and he made a superimposition. And there is a science. So if you have like, I don't know how many, 10 points, that's the person in the photo, the skull belongs to that person. So he had a full, I mean, he was a lot more points than that. So he's sure that that person is the man on the photo. And that was the only exhumed body. Soon after that was the statute of limitation. What is it called? That no expertise anymore is legit and will be considered if anybody does anything, like that's it. Nobody can do that. Nobody can how to say, order laboratory tests. Only the prosecutors, nobody else, like no relatives, no one, only the prosecutors. And then after the exhumation, someone wrote a letter to the prosecutor of Sverdlovsk region that they didn't do a proper job burying Zolotaryov's bones back. Like, oh, there were scattered bones, people were taking souvenirs. Bullshit. I mean, sorry. Absolutely not true. Everything was done very, very correctly. They made a new monument. Everything was clean and under the scrutiny of all of the press, social media, everybody. So the only good thing for me about the exhumation is that it got the attention of the prosecutors, because it turned out that the Kuryakov is also obsessed with this case. So he reviewed the case files. He went to the pass on expedition. He came out with a lot of information. He made a resolution and he was fired because he repeated exactly the same conclusion from 59. Like, oh, it was no, in 59 they said overwhelming force. Actually, Lev Ivanov didn't name anything. He's like, it was force majeure. It was something big that killed them, but I'm not sure what. Lev Ivanov spent 3 months. They didn't give him a second extension because he started looking for the source into the sky. Also, he was not doing anything on the location. He didn't treat this as a crime scene. So he didn't have any leads or new information. He was like making up stuff. So if it was up to me, I would close the case too, because he was clueless what to look into. And Kuryakov had other, I don't know who was above him, but at the very beginning, Kuryakov is the prosecutor that reopened. He didn't reopen. He reviewed the case in 2019. And actually, I was on the pass a couple of days before him. And he, from the very start, he said, we're not going to look into a crime, foul play. Like, it's not a criminal case. I'm going to look into natural forces, hurricane, avalanche, snow slap. That's it. So he went there to actually look for this. And one of the first theories, that's not like, because in 2019, the Swiss suddenly made all of the headlines. The Dyatlov Pass incident is solved. It was an avalanche, blah, blah, blah. This is total nuts, because that was the very first theory that they had in 59. That's an avalanche. And they went, they looked, there's no avalanche because the tent is sticking out, the footprints are there. I mean, who would go down to on the exact path of the alleged avalanche that they were scared that the snow is going to go down? Yeah. And then you go abreast slowly on exactly the place where the avalanche will go down if there is a compromised snow cover. So well, anyway, that's not a new theory.
I was going to say that.
Back to so just to close that question, no one is going to be allowed. I mean, there are a lot of people that, let's exhume everybody and look for what? I mean, what good did it do after the exhumation of the first body? It was a total circus on the on the media. Like Federal Russian channel first said, here is our expert, and he said, that's not Zolotaryov. He was supposed to say, we don't know from the sample we took, because whatever the DNA could be this and that, and we need a different source to compare with. They were supposed to say, we don't know, and they said that it's not him. And then after that moment, you cannot convince anybody that they found that the body that was buried was actually the person who went on the trek. Then they said it was his brother, because the second DNA said, no, it's him, but we cannot exclude his brother. So Komsomolskaya Pravda journalist Natalia Versagova, she found his brother, who was shot because he was a spy, German spy. And that didn't calm the theories. On the contrary, it put more oxygen. Oh, so it was, they actually replaced it with his brother, because nothing in this case proves or disproves a theory. It gets incorporated into
Right.
a more elaborate theory.
Well, we've got about 3 minutes left before the break. I did want to ask real quick, because you were talking about the possibility of, the avalanche and things. Painting Pilot asked if the goal was Oratoton, is it easier to hike there from the tent location or from the cedar where the bodies were found?
Okay. That's a very interesting question, because to this day, there's always the question, should we put the tent down or up? Of course, getting out of the tent on the top of the mountain without the nivelation, it's easier to go, but you have to spend the night without firewood, without water, in the cold. You will hardly be sleeping. Then do you leave the tent there? Because otherwise you can go and come back and leave the tent, but not in this wind. Because even when we went with Expedition Unknown, the night we left the tent location, which was on the ridge, this is how Josh Gates wanted it, it was completely blown away from by the wind and without even a storm. So you cannot leave the tent there and think that you're going to find it back. No one pitches tent at the ridge. It's blowing wind all the times, like all the time. It's so uncomfortable. Every winter, so many expeditions go there, and the only reason to pitch a tent there is to make the experiments to like let's see if we can die like the Dyatlov group. It's stupid to pitch a tent there. So to answer the question, it's everybody puts the tent and camp in the forest between the trees. There's no wind. You can relax, you can wash, you can cook, you can write the satirical pamphlet. On the ridge, you're constantly surviving there. You only pitch the tent when you have to a really extreme something happening, like a storm, someone is dying, something, because you it's just, even the tent, it's so weak, it's so shredded. The stove that's burning inside has sparkled so many dots in the cloth of the tent. They say it's like a planetarium. It's all broken. They write in the diaries that they have to mend the tent every night. It's very old. It's not going to withstand the winds. You don't pitch this tent there. It was never pitched in a place like that. There is maybe a couple of times when it was pitched outside the forest, but always when it's not so windy, it's just because they had to. They had the sick hiker. They had to pitch it, and when you pitch it, not in the forest but in a treeless zone, you put additional ropes that have to support it. It wasn't. They weren't there. So that tent, the way they found it, it's impossible to survive a month there in these winds. That's just not possible. And so little snow on top of it. Like anything that you leave there, you don't find it the next day, or after a week, you don't even know where it was. Right now, there is an 8-meter high monument there. It's not the outlet, it's a monument that's completely covered in winter. You don't know where it is.
That's interesting.
And I have
So,
asked, okay, so just to close the question, I have asked Russian hikers.
We gotta go for a break.
Okay.
When we come back, we continue audience questions, continue with Teddy when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Okay. I think we're good we got 5 minutes or so. We'll come back.
Okay.
We're good to swear for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Mr. Burns, excellent. Well, anyways, I drew this cartoon of Carl, Stanton, and Alan, the 3 gray aliens.
Yeah.
They were going to go do some skiing, and they stopped in Dyatlov Pass. And, well, luckily, one of the 3 boys is a little bit versed on some of the things on Earth, and he decided they would take another place for the skiing because there's a Yeti hanging out in the background there.
Yeah,
So you're describing what's in the drawing?
Yes.
Oh,
Hold on, Josh.
I see it very small. That's why I'm asking. So you were saying something about people going skiing. That was in the drawing or something you happened to you? I didn't get that.
No, let me see here. I think I can.
Ah,
there we
okay.
go. Yes,
I think we should find another spot. That's a good one.
there's now. I'm not saying there was aliens or Yetis involved in this situation, but there we are.
But you're not saying there weren't.
I can't really talk in definitions without my attorney present.
Oh my goodness.
But yes, Carl, Stanton, and Alan, they're my 3 alien characters. One of them knows Dave. And Dave, if you're ever not sick and you see this video, hello, Dave. But anyways, they're trying to learn about Earth, and so they decide to go skiing. And they picked the mountains in Russia somewhere, and they see this sign, and I believe it was Alan that said that I think we should find a different place to go skiing. So they went somewhere else. Probably to Kananaskis or something.
Where do your cartoons go after the show? What do you do with this?
I usually just share them on X or Twitter.
Well, send it to me. Send it to me with the link I'm gonna advertise you. Send it to me, and I'm going to post it on Dyatlov Pass. It's a very big platform for this case.
All right, I'm just poking fun at it, and I'm not trying to do any disrespect to anybody. However, I think that sometimes
this is not that's the thing when you deal with this case for so long, at the end you can't not joke from time to time. It's not disrespectful. I mean, that's not disrespectful is when you seriously create theories, when you make them do really stupid, ugly things, like they kill each other, things like that. That's obviously a cartoon. And even the fact that you're spending time on the topic, it's actually paying some respect to the topic, because all we do this so it doesn't get forgotten, and also because it's not solved. I really believe that's so messed up. I mean, just between us, I think it can be solved or easily solved, because usually you move the bodies from point A to point B. What happened here, and I'm sorry that they're not going to ask me questions that are more advanced. What happened here is that someone found the bodies, took them to the morgue in Ivdel, because there are recollections of someone that was cleaning them, preparing for burial at the beginning of the month when they were not even missing yet. And then these bodies disappeared because they were brought back to the past. So some of the bodies were cleaned and brought back and put in staged poses, because no one intended to do that. They just panicked that they're going to be blamed because the party was not really investigating what caused. If there was a foul play, they would investigate. But if something like that, they had to punish. They had to discipline someone. And the local bosses of the Ivdelak and the party and the geology expedition, because their geologists were working right there where they died, they didn't want to go to the gulag and being fired. So they just put the bodies back and moved the tent because they didn't want to. They were blasting. This is how you search for uranium in 59. You blast a crater into the ground, and then you take cores and you examine if there is uranium in them. No one closed the area where they're working or anything like that. And when they found the body at the beginning, it was fine. Nobody thought of anything. And then suddenly the paranoia kicked in and said, oh my goodness, so many people are coming from Moscow and the party and this, and they're going to punish us because we're working here and there was no one else to punish. That's why they just put the bodies there and moved the tent. That's why nothing makes sense, because there is a lot of activity where the bodies were. But that's why they said they were mad, blind, poisoned. They didn't know what they were doing. What's going on where the bodies, and the tent is up there where it's weird.
Okay, we're getting ready to come back here in just a few seconds. So let's pause for a moment.
I'll keep in touch.
Please.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio. I am your host tonight, Josh Rutledge, filling in for Dave Scott. And again, we've got Teddy from DyatlovPass.com talking to us about the Dyatlov Pass Incident. When we left off, we were talking about the bodies and autopsies and the use of those bodies. And Teddy, I wanted to jump back into another listener question. This one involves the possibility of the military. One theory involves military action. Is there a military base nearby? Was the area known for military drills or exercises?
It's Siberia. What military exercises? And why would they test weapons on top of, I mean, people are living there and geologists are working there and tourists are hiking there. Like, why would anyone, I mean, it has to be a stray rocket or something like that. So the short answer is, I don't know of any, because I ain't expert and ain't my theory. So someone that has this theory, the ambassador of this theory, they have to explain themselves, because they're all crazy people that are seeing bunkers from Google Earth and they're finding things. And the first movie that I saw, Devil's Pass, speaks about catacombs, tunnels under the mountain where people from the war times are doing teleportation experiments. I mean, how can I answer for that? So, but one of the most popular big theory, Russian, is that actually, and that's what the Russians believe to this day. I mean, the locals, the foundation in memory of the Dyatlov group, everyone says that it's a cover up. So when I wanted to understand what they mean, what happened there, because there are other groups too, other hikers were nearby. They could see the same thing that the Dyatlov group saw. And there were Mansi too, the indigenous people. So the military involvement says the following. It branches into two versions. One is that something happened in the sky or somewhere that actually they were exposed to. So they saw it and they inhaled something or were frightened by something. That's why they run in their underwear. And so they died because they saw something that made them so crazy, or either frightened or poisoned or something like that, that they died from that. And then the someone tried to cover up, but they didn't hide the diaries, the bodies, and everything. They could do a better job of this. The other branch is that the military knew that they're witnesses, and they sent to clean them up, the cleaners. And the head of the foundation of in memory of the Dyatlov group, he openly described how the hikers were picked up with helicopters, and that's why the 3 bodies were found in a line, because they were dropped from the sky to die. That's why the branches of the cedar tree are broken, because there were bodies were dropped from the sky. Well, but they were just, the branches are broken up to 5 meters and then they're not broken, so it doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Anyway, so I don't know, people have to see, I'm ridiculing this theory because I don't believe in it, but there are people that are very serious, authors of books, that, and the thickest book by Alexei Rakitin, who is not a man, it's actually a pen name of many people. His book speaks about exactly that. That's a double espionage, that they brought beta isotope samples on their clothing to actually mislead the West, that they're much more advanced into the development of the bomb, of the weapons and stuff. You can get very deep into the espionage, that there are 2 KGB agents, Zolotaryov, the one that was exhumed, and Kolevatov, who strangely went back to study in Sverdlovsk after he was sent in Moscow, which was like winning the lottery, but no, he went back. So they said, no, he was recruited by the KGB and he went back with a mission. There is another theory that they actually themselves were carrying something to test, weapon, I don't know what, some secret stuff. And by deploying it, there was some accident, because by chance they hit whatever they shot in the sky, hit here they joined 2 theories, because no one gives up anything, they just more of the theories. So there is another theory, which book thick, that's called The Half-Life of the Dyatlov Group, which says that there was nearby some plant which accident practices involve when something blows up, like Chernobyl, some poisonous gases to be put into balloons and shot in the sky, so they go away from the population, something like that. So by chance, the Dyatlov group launched a rocket that actually destroyed something like that, a balloon like that. And they were exposed by the gas inside, and that the search operation was delayed for exactly that many days. Then the gases that they were exposed to disappear from their bodies. So that's why the half-life of the elements, half-life of the group. So, I mean, there are no evidence of anything like that, but so many people believe in it. So, what can I tell you? No, there were no military bases, but there is talk about military bases. I don't know of any. I have been 6 times to the pass. I haven't seen any ruins that speak of anything like that. And I have not seen a normal person who says or brings photo evidence that there is any trace of such a military basis. But crazy people see bunkers and also UFO runaways for spaceship landing. So, I mean, there is a lot of talk, and a lot of people are sending me all these materials. Oh, did you hear about that? Is that a new information? Is that, you will read and hear anything about this, anything, really.
Right.
And if I had 2 pennies, a penny every time when I read a headline, solved, the case is solved, new evidence, solved, I would be rich. Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to go back to something you started talking about at the end of the first half hour, which was the footprints. I know in the report that I read that it was very interesting that the footprints were walking away from the tent and not running. What are your thoughts on that?
What I just want to catch the ending of the other question before the break. Is
Sure.
it easier to camp if you're going to Otorten, camp in the forest, in the ravine, or camp on the ridge because you don't lose any denivellation? The things that nowadays hikers do when they go to the Dyatlov Pass is they're trying to reenact what happened in 59. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, on February 1st, came back the expedition I wish I was part of, but they didn't approve me because I'm not a skier. And it was a really very hard expedition, even without the polar vortex collapse and the frigid temperatures that they had. So they came back and they couldn't camp on where the tent was found. But every expedition, including Expedition Unknown, that I was part of, is trying to pitch a tent and spend a night where the tent was found. It's really, everybody after doing that, accomplishing or not accomplishing, is said. They all say it's crazy. It's crazy. There is no reason to pitch a tent there. No reason whatsoever, because it's a very easy terrain on both sides of the pass. That's not much of a climb. That's like 50, 100 meters in elevation. Like you go up. Why? There's no water, no trees, nothing there. No shelter. It's windy. It's called Dead Mountain, not because people die there, because everything dies there. There's nothing there. No one goes there. That's why it's called Dead Mountain. But the trees are right there, so cozy. And the second experiment that people do is go in socks from where the tent is found to where the bodies were found. Everybody's trying to walk in socks. And I personally know two of my friends that were, even the journalist from Komsomolskaya Pravda, the woman, she walked in socks in February to recreate that it's possible. It again is as crazy as pitching a tent there. It's like, why do that? It's no reason to do that. And even if you manage in the middle of a good sunny day to do that, it doesn't prove anything. But now I'm getting to the footprints. What we managed to see is that when you walk in your socks, actually the footprint, the print, shows the toes. Doesn't matter how many thick socks you have on your feet, because the thermal print of your foot is melting the snow in a way that you see the shape of your foot. That's the experiment that was worth for me $1,000,000, because you can see that it's completely different from the footprints that were photographed in 59. So another thing is that no one has ever managed to leave any footprint or tent or anything on the ridge and was found a week later, or it will survive all of the wind and all of the blizzard. I'm telling you, it's so windy. Actually, Otorten, one of the translations from the indigenous language, one is goose nest, and another is the door, the gateway of the winds, the windy gate, the windy door. It's all blowing there. Anyways, so these footprints wouldn't survive. But even if they did, and thank God they did. So, I think that those footprints are like 2, maximum 3 days old, not a month old for sure. But everybody is repeating like mantra, the barefoot footprints, barefoot. Who says are barefoot? So in the case files, I'm not saying in the case files, you're going to read. I'm going to point to you who said that they're barefoot. Left by people without shoes. Chernyshov and Lebedev. One is the military, the other one is a student. So, but here is what I want to point to. This case is so hard to solve because everybody is considering that the starting points that we were given in 59 are true. No one is questioning them that the tent was there and this is their footprints. Those are the two milestones that everybody steps on, these two facts, and tries to build theories, and they're crazier and crazier. That what made them pitch the tent there, rip it open, cut it open, and then go slowly down in there without shoes. That didn't happen. And I paid to an expert traceologist who looked at the photos. He said, well, those are not forensic photos, but anyways, they show very clearly. And I don't believe experts that are invested or have theories about the Dyatlov Pass. This person was a professor and didn't care a bit about the case. He's only looking at the footprints, the photos. He got paid for this, and he said, those are feet with shoes, these traces, and I published it in the book, and Komsomolskaya Pravda wrote, published it too. These footprints are left by feet in shoes, because you don't see, you actually see the sole of the shoe, you see the heel of the shoe, but then you have these two people that said, well, we see the traces of footprints of 4 people bare feet. And here is where the snake bites its tail, because the reason they say that, because they said there are no traces of strangers. There's nobody here. No one, there are no traces of anybody. That's why Kuryakov says we're not going to investigate any criminal theories. Everybody starts from the fact that there are no traces of strangers. Well, what are these footprints then? What kind of traces of strangers do you expect to find? Somebody dropped his passport or what? Those footprints are of people in shoes that were not found. So everybody at the time, they said, well, there is nobody here and the bodies are not having shoes and these are their footprints, because the chronology of the findings of the tent and the footprints and the body was applied automatically on the chronology of the events that killed them. That the first they pitched the tent there, they cut it open, they walk, they died. What if that was not what happened?
Right.
So the footprint, what I'm saying is that the only cool thing about all the stupid experiments, and I said on the yesterday's anniversary of the every year on 2nd of February in Ekaterinburg, there is a conference. Now there are many conferences because the head died. So now we have fractions of many foundations or whatever. And everybody makes a presentation. So they invite me every year because I found very cool stuff on the Dyatlov Pass and I'm proving my theory, blah, blah, blah. So this year I talked about the polar vortex collapse because the first time it was recorded in the history of the meteorology was in the Era 5 database is January 59. That was the first time when the polar vortex collapsed and it was freezing. But there's always but in this case. The freezing temperatures were not recorded but by the meteo station. So now if you actually, and we paid for that, we got all of the recorded temperatures. There is no record of unusually cold. I mean, it dropped, but not more than when we were with Expedition or anything like that. But the thing is that all these streams and blizzards and storms and hurricanes and Bora, they happen very locally. So the meteorology, the meteo stations, or it can happen between the hours that they recorded, but especially the wind. I mean, the thing that measures the wind speed in the meteo stations, they're kind of protected and even more protected than usually in the northern Urals. So anyways, the footprints. So the footprints, I said on my presentation that we should actually emphasize that there is an expert opinion, because I'm not an expert. I can turn blue repeating that this is shoe sole, and everybody actually agrees that this is a heel of, I mean, you see shoes there imprinted in the snow. There should be emphasis on the fact that we don't know if these footprints were left by the hikers. I mean, you can't prove this in court. You can't prove even this in a forum. So the hikers stopped walking in socks in the winter because it's stupid and doesn't prove anything. You can go down, you cannot imagine what were the circumstances under which the hikers, if they did such a thing, why they did it. But that's not normal behavior. So that's what I wanted to say, that what we know for sure firsthand is that when you walk in socks in the snow, your footprints, they have the imprint of your toes. But again, there's always a but. The head of the search in 59, Maslennikov, actually drew, when he was making notes about the footprints, he actually drew a barefoot. He drew it. I mean, he drew a shoe, a sole of a shoe, and he drew a barefoot. But there is no photo of such a thing. So that's what I wanted to say. Question everything. Was the tent there? It was found there. It was found there. And nowadays, they pitched, right now at the tent site, there are 3 signs. They all say, this is where the Dyatlov group spent their last night. And I'm not arguing because these are my friends, but the correct spelling of this sign should be, this is where the tent was found in 59, because this is the only sure thing that we know. It was found there. Who left it there? We don't know. Whose footprints are these? We don't know. Question everything. Don't take my word for it.
Well, and so one little added
Did they have
piece
shoes?
here.
No, they did not have shoes when they were found.
They didn't have shoes.
No.
Okay. And then the direction of the print supports or discounts the staging of the tent.
The footprints.
Yep. So the direction of the prints away from the tent, does it support or discount that maybe the tent was a stage?
Well,
A
to me,
staged
it
event.
proves that there are other things around the tent that cannot be left like that for a month. Like there is a flashlight on the top of the tent that doesn't have a snowflake on top, and it sits on 10 centimeters of snow. So we have the tent, 10 centimeters of snow, flashlight, and it was nothing on top of it. Then there are traces of urination that they cannot survive for a month. Absolutely not. And also there are testimonies of the local, not Mansi, but the forester and someone else, that they said, we found the tent 3 days prior, but we didn't touch anything. What? I mean, the thing is that you can read in the case files also, people have seen the tent and bodies someplace else. Then we have the pilot who points 50 years after that to Otorten instead of Dyatlov Pass. So immediately theories that actually Dyatlov did go to Otorten, they saw something, they were killed, and then they were moved to Dyatlov Pass, so they don't search, additionally pay attention to actually where the events happen. So the pilot, they on the map, all the ridges look the same. And after he pointed to the wrong ridge, and he said for the next interviews that his sight is not good anymore, so he was never shown any maps after that. So I mean, you don't have anything certainty. The footprints is one of my main points that proves.
All right. When we come back, last half of the second hour with our guest Teddy from Dyatlov Pass .com, talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident, answering your all's questions. Okay, now we can just chit chat for a few minutes.
Yeah. I have to say when we start again that the tent is very close to the landing site of the helicopters, and everything that comes and goes from that location goes by air. So the bodies were actually dragged up the hill. Everything that comes have to go from where the tent is found down. This is the easiest way to go down. And what I'm trying to say is that if military or anyone else was moving the tent, this is exactly, they just land the helicopter, take out the tent, and this is where they put it. Well, but like 400 meters away from there, because it can, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. If it was clear, I wouldn't be spending the time on this. And because I'm not completely sure, not completely sure, I'm interested myself to find evidence to prove my theory. Well, just for you, because we won't have the time to go into, this is just the chit chat, I'm going to tell you. That's a very original, for first time ever, anybody came up with with how I think they died. I think that they were in the forest where they were supposed to be, according to the plan, and where it's easy to camp, where the bodies were found. And I think that a tree fell on top of the tent, because the traumas, this is the hardest thing to explain, what caused the trauma, the chest and the caved in skull of three of them that were found in the river. So I think they were just killed by the tree, and the rest were in such a stress that they didn't think clearly, and they were going up the hill to call for help from the sky, because there were helicopters going there. And I'm publishing the maps of the helicopters that are looking for uranium, and they're following the magnetic anomaly lines on the ground. So they were actually trying to attract help. It was freezing cold, the polar vortex collapsed. So they run in the way that they have been trying to help their friends for hours and hours. They were trying to get the bodies from under the tree, and they were dying and they were distressed. And usually there was no wind there. This is proven that there is no wind, because they found, there is a journalist that was describing leaves, dry leaves on the trees. So if there was a wind, they wouldn't be staying there. So they just jumped out of the tent, and they were not feeling the cold. And when they started going up, they died freezing, because they just couldn't go up anymore. There was so cold and wind coming from the ridge down. And I found the tree once. That's not like an empty theory. I found the tree, I cut it out, I brought it to dendrology professor, who doesn't care about the theory, about the case at all. He counted the rings, and the last ring on the tree is 58, and on the photo February, that tree is already not visible. It fell. It's a 10-meter tall cedar tree. It's the same size as the landmark under which the bodies were found. Can you imagine that? I found it. Then I found tin cans from from cream. I thought it was condensed milk, but I found the plant that made the tin can, and they gave me a certificate that it was a cream that was sold in 59 only in the stores, and all of the students that were researchers, they were given the supplies, their food supplies from the military reserve, and it was in a different can. So I'm an expert on tin cans from 59. So now when I go with a metal detector, and I go cut up trees, and with the borer, incremental borer. So I'm actually
Welcome back, everybody, to the last half hour of the second hour, I guess, with here on Spaced Out Radio. As I'm your host, Josh Rutledge, because Dave Scott is under the weather, and we're talking with Teddy from DyatlovPass.com about the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Again, answering questions that you all have submitted. Thank you again so much, Teddy, for being on the show with us tonight. It's been a fantastic conversation thus far. Had a lot of great information coming in. And like we've done for the last couple of break returns, we're just going to go ahead and post or ask another question from the audience. And this one actually comes in around any UFO reports that were from there at that time. You touched on this a little bit earlier.
Yes. There were UFOs at that time. And I think that the most important thing is that explains why Lev Ivanov, the lead investigator, asked for radioactive analysis, because they were included in the case files. Those are reports from people that were working in the meteo station, and they were reporting sighting of some glowing objects in the sky. Also, in the newspapers, there were witness accounts, but everybody was seeing that, and those were strange. They were not what people were used to see in the skies in the region. And because of the military testing for bombs and the war and everything, the espionage, I believe that the government was investigating what are these UFOs in their skies. They were afraid that maybe they got, the America, anybody, the enemy was actually infiltrating their skies with some secret weapons. They were afraid of that because anything that they're not in control of, or they don't know what it is, they banned the reports, everything. So yes, the UFOs, and as I said, Lev Ivanov published an article 30 years after that the reason for, what killed them should be looked into the skies. And I believe that's why he also ordered the analysis of for contamination. But the interesting thing is that after he got the results back that they were radioactive, he closed the case. So there wasn't any follow-up of that. It was, and he was not really, his heart was not in the case anymore. So this is my thinking, that he was moved on different cases that had involved the UFOs in the skies, and he was like looking into all kind of reasons that this group could have died from, including some secret weapons or something. He didn't use the word weapons, something in the sky that was emitting this energy that burned them, but they didn't have any burns on them. He talks about the burned trees, tops of trees, but those are just individual trees. So yes, there were UFOs, and yes, they were reported, registered, but we don't know what their role was in the case, other than prompted Lev Ivanov to ask for radioactive analysis.
Have you, this was from Paramarv, have you ever discussed this case with a psychic or a remote viewer And if so, were they able to offer any insight on the mystery?
Well, I didn't want to, but they imposed on me what they know, and they were talking about, oh, it's dark and very painful. I had myself, I mean, maybe you already know why I'm involved with this case. I had near-death experience. I almost died. So someone in the hospital told me, are you coming from the Dyatlov Pass? I didn't know what that is. So I started Googling and watching movies. So the night after my first movie about the case, I actually had a nightmare, the worst one, that you dream that you're exactly where you are. Like I dreamed that I'm in my bed, in the room. Everything was, I thought that I'm awake, and I was completely smashed by something. I couldn't breathe, by something very dark, heavy, and I was very frightened. But I was not frightened for myself. I was experiencing something that was taking my breath away. I couldn't breathe. And I woke up with the thought, this is what killed him. This is what I have to tell somebody. So, but that's all I remember. That's something very dark and heavy. So basically, my nightmare was better than what the psychics are telling me. Because, oh, yes, they talk, the psychics that have, I didn't ask them, but everybody is sending me something, opinions, feedback, theories, everything. And they all talk about wet, because they were in the water, dark, cold, and frightened.
Which are all commonly known facts about the case.
Yeah, but see, if something falls on top of you in the middle of the night, you won't be able to say who sent it, who killed you. I mean,
Right.
there were
Yeah.
obviously, there are no wounds, there are no cuts, no bites, nothing to suggest foul play. And in the dark, and if you're, let's say you're on the ridge or in the forest, and there is tent involved. So if you're crushed on, let's say avalanche goes over the tent or anything, and you cut it open, but you die because you're all broken, this is what you're gonna see. Dark, cold, frightened. That's it. I don't think that even you have to, I don't know how it works about, spirits and the other side and all this.
Right.
But do you have additional knowledge after you die of what killed you? Like, oh, I'm going out of body experience and I see what happened to me, because I don't know how it works. But
yeah, I mean, there have been stories of near-death experiences and things that where individuals are, on the surgery table, for example, and they're out of their body, witnessing the doctors perform surgery to try to save their life. So I think in some cases, maybe, I also I have not had a near-death experience, so I don't really know what the experience is like. I just know what other people have reported.
yeah, so yeah, a lot of people are trying to do this spiritual whatever, but I can't
Right.
bring you any useful information about anything additional more than we know from the case files. So I
Yeah.
don't
I mean,
know.
I don't know. And at this point, if it did come through, how would you investigate that or prove it?
No, I mean, if we have some real information, or not even real, but like, okay, we were this and that, we can look into this and that. But everything I have heard is very vague. Like I told you, vague, like
Right.
dark, cold, wet. Give me something to work with.
Yeah. No, I get that. A quick question here from United We Stand 5205. What do you find to be the most important piece of evidence found from this incident that may someday lead to an answer as to exactly what happened?
That bat, like someone confessing something, not that he killed them, because I don't believe they were killed intentionally, but witnessed something. And people right now are dying. I mean, from that were contemporaries to the events and witnesses to the events. It's too bad that there a lot of them are becoming forgetful, losing their minds, dementia, and all these things. Like the nurse that was cleaning the bodies in the Idel morgue in the beginning of February. But there are the other things that corroborate her recollections, but they're not. Some of them are with very clear mind, like the student who found the bodies. It's my friend. Ashkenazi, he remembers everything. But then again, you remember everything, but with these people so long ago, and now suddenly the case was forgotten for 30 years, and then suddenly everybody wants to talk about it. Sometimes they repeat things that they heard. So every time you have to look, this person who said that, was he there? Is it a hearsay or firsthand witnessing this? Because they were talking in the tents, then in the corridors, then in the, they were young people. So they were making up things. They were trying to explain this and not having the case files and everything that we know right now. They didn't have any of this. Even the families and the relatives, they didn't know where their children died from. They didn't have the autopsy reports, anything. So they were making up stuff to fill the blanks. And so what I think is that someone has to say something, because someone witnessed something. At the beginning, even before they were missing, the first document is from February 6th. I mean, they started questioning, even, official questioning of people 2 weeks before they were missing. So they were talk that people died. They just they mistakenly thought of another group because they were from a local village. I mean, some of the hikers was from a local village, so they were looking into different villages, not where the Dyatlov group went. And then when that group came back alive, they just moved this testimony to a new folder when the new investigation started, because they didn't know who died. But someone knew, someone found them, someone saw them. The problem is that afterwards, someone moved the bodies, and that's already criminal. And it's like, how do I explain? But there's so many people afraid of the regime. Even recently, I saw what Возрожденный, the coroner at the time, said. He was on location where the bodies were, and the pilots refused to fly the last bodies because they were in really bad shape, and they were afraid. Maybe they heard about the radioactive contamination or whatever. They refused to fly them without special packaging, right? So then the coroner, Возрожденный, he said the following. He said that, I can say that they're not transportable, like you cannot transport them because of the bad condition, but then they're going to come here, they're going to blame me for something, and I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to say that they can be transportable, so they take them from here, and I'm going to investigate them in the morgue. Everybody was afraid to be blamed about something, that he's gonna become the scapegoat, the culprit. Everybody was afraid. How the regime make their decision? There was no logic in that. I mean, in any regime, like, okay, you are fired, the next one comes in. You're not my favorite anymore. I don't like you. I like you. That's how they were. And that's why everybody wanted to distance themselves from this, from the location. And another thing is, you see who was infiltrating the investigation without reason. Who is asking the geologists, the sappers, or the convoy from the Ivdelak to take part of this investigation? No one. They said the officially sent rescuers and searchers were from the sports club where the Dyatlov group was from, the students. And they were, all of them were saying, There were some military people around us. We didn't know who they were. They were not talking with us. We don't know what was going on, but they were the ones that were ordered to find the bodies with the probes, with avalanche and everything. But there's so many people there going around. All the radiograms, everything was going through the geologists. Why? No one ordered them. This is how you actually want to keep tabs on what's found, what's going on there. And there's so many strange behavior in this case of people that were there on location. And why is everybody from the students talking, radio, shows, books, everything? No one from the military, no one from the sappers, no one from the villages. No one is actually who knew what went there. No one talks. No one talks. That's so weird. I think that someone can still speak, and they are not speaking because they're ashamed and because they could be prosecuted. But it's so stupid, and this snowballed in such a big mystery that could be solved with just one witness testimony. That's my opinion. But the opinion of the Russians is that there is secret case files in the archives that we have not seen, and that's why we can't solve the case, because there is a completely different case that we are not aware of. This is what they think. I mean, the majority of the Russians.
Well, so that kind of, I think, relates a little bit to the possibility of this next question from the Chiqueta. Has the theory of one of the members being possessed by an evil entity been addressed?
Yep, Zolotaryov. There is a thing that Zolotaryov actually went bizarre, either PTSD from the war, or he didn't like the young people because they're smarter, more beautiful, and whatever. But something possessed him, and he had a meltdown, and there is theory like that. The weird thing about this theory is that actually Zolotaryov is with the worst traumas, and he shit himself. So I don't know.
I don't know either. What about a theory that the gravity dropped, which led them to be confused and afraid, which, and then has this gravity dropping thing ever been measured any other time?
There is even published on my site, because I wanted to see, just to cover the wide range of theories, just to cover them. But I can't keep track because people ask me how many are they. The head of the foundation said 175, and he was laughing because he said, I can say any number and they're going to believe me. So I can tell you that they're 213. Quote me for that. How do you count the theories? Anyways, so one of the theories is the gravity tunnel. So the gravity tunnel that supposedly sucked them and threw them, and they fell and they broke, and that caused the trauma. Well, why didn't it suck their socks and all the rest of the items in the tent? And why the cut? So the gravity tunnel, for the first time, I hear that, which led them to be confused. That's usually part of the infrasound, because the gravity tunnel, it's when the gravity becomes, lighter and you start floating or sucked, or, I mean, I guess if you fly uncontrollably, you're confused. You become confused. But, no, it wasn't measured. There is no anything about gravity tunnel. I mean, if you haven't read the case files and the details, and you can come up, that's when you come up with the extraterrestrial and gravity tunnel, because it doesn't explain anything. I mean, okay, what? They cut on their way. They were sucked from the tent. They cut their way to be lifted in the air. Everything stayed in the tent, and they were dropped right outside the tent, so they walked calmly down. Well, I mean, how does that theory even go? Because theories that makes them uncomfortable, like the infrasound and this supposedly, I don't understand how this theory goes on, because you can't just take them out of the tent. You have to follow them for 2 hours. and kill them down in the ravine where the bodies were found. Because nothing of the theories, they cut open the tent and then they died. How? Why did they die? They could just wait it up. They could put their shoes and go aside. Because if you first feel uncomfortable, how does that crush your rib cage or cave in your skull? Because when you're trying to explain strange behavior, you're talking about not putting your clothes, shoes, go down, but doesn't explain the traumas. Every theory has to start with what caused the trauma that could not be explained with anything around them. Like the coroner said, as if they were hit by a fast-moving vehicle. Other things are to fall from the 8th floor or to be crushed under a boulder. Nothing is around them that could explain the traumas. So the theory should not carry the name of what made them leave the tent, because we don't know if they were even in that tent, on that place, but with the trauma. Why were 6 of them running like headless chickens around in their underwear and died from hypothermia, and 3 of them were crushed as if a tank fell on top of them? That's the weird thing about the theory. Not why they pitched the tent, cut it open, and went without the shoes. This is a joke. If you're building a theory about that, start explaining the trauma, then move on.
The theory that I have thought about for the last couple of years is the possibility that it was a near ground sonic boom, that the break of the sound barrier too close to the ground created a pressure wave that could cause the trauma. It could certainly cause people who were asleep to suddenly wake up confused, unalert, not be able to zip open their tent, and so instead cut out of their tent to see what's going on. It's just a theory, like I said, that could explain because Russia had some MiGs and some things that were.
So the way you're saying it happened on the ridge where the tent was found. How were the bodies transported a mile down?
Yeah, I haven't fully explored but that's the possibility.
That's a good start. But if it happened in the forest, then why wasn't anything else broken? No branches, nothing. Because a boom, it's like, you can't kill you and you. It has to be something else broken.
Yeah.
There is nothing broken there. If it happened on the ridge, then the traumas were, you cannot be moved. I know by myself, you cannot be moved because you're like, they cannot move you. Everybody is explaining, they put them on their back and drag them. That's why you don't see a drag mark. They put them on serious people. This is how they said it happened. They moved them for a mile in a direction we don't know what's going on. Then they don't stop at the first trees. They go down the ravine, they go up, and they have to fight through the forest and then put them in the creek.
And what's the sonic boom?
So if the first thing is the trauma, then the second thing is where it happened. So it happened at the tent. Then bodies stay there. Bodies don't go down. Because if people say my theory is crazy because I think someone actually wrapped up the tent and then said, oh my God, I have to put them back and put the tent where the helicopters were landing. If they think that's crazy, then you have to explain to me, how did the zombies came from the ridge down and made the fire and everything else? And why? Why would you move bodies that were dead because they were dead 20 minutes after the impact, after the blow? Why would you move them in a direction you don't know what's there? There weren't even maps what's there.
So we're wrapping up hour 2. And we'll be back here in just a little bit with hour 3 here out radio.
Okie dokie. I'll be right back.
Oh, Teddy,
Yes.
can you hang around and do hour 3 with me?
Hour 3?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
normally it would be me and Dave, but since Dave's sick.
Oh, no. I always stay for 3 hours.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I'll be right back.
I'm also going to go take a little break, and you all can look at my chair instead of Dave's.
Can you hear me, Josh?
Yep, I gotcha.
The sun is up. Do you want me to? How is the light now? Let me see.
You're okay. You're a little dark when you're sitting back in your chair.
That's because of the contrast. Let me see if I close this and I can put more light. Yeah, that's better. Right?
Yep, that looks good.
I can put more light. how do I do that? Like this? Okay.
Yeah, that looks really good. Be
Okay.
coming back in about 2 minutes.
Do you know what we had? I was looking at the screen and I was thinking, okay, I can test the lights because that's your chair, right? I can't see me. So I was thinking, okay, I should put some other app with the camera. And then I sat on the chair and we had a mirrored movement. You sat at exactly the same time, exactly the same direction. You were like my reflection. And I was thinking, okay, so that's my chair. And then we sat and I'm like, that's not me. It was really freaky because we did it with the same,
Synchronistic chair
yeah,
sittings.
yeah. It's like, okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yes, it is cool. It is cool that I keep finding things that are very interesting, and it brings the best in me, like focus, and I'm in good shape so I can go on expeditions. And I know Russian, and I know about trees, metal detectors. Uh,
Yep.
I meet people, and to me, talking about somebody's
Come-
tragedy is much more interesting than talking about my own shit, right? I
And
can.
we're coming back here. And welcome back to hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio. Again, Josh Rutledge here, filling in for the great Dave Scott. We've got with us Teddy from DyatlovPass.com. Again, we're talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident and answering questions from the community. Thank you again so much, Teddy, for hanging around with us for hour 3. Normally, you would just get me and Dave talking about the UFO report, but tonight we're going to have hour 3 with Teddy talking about Dyatlov Pass. So as we've done for most of the evening, kind of jumping into some of the questions and things that have come up from the chat, from the group. One of the questions that came in was, what's the mechanism that would explain severe internal trauma, calm tent exit, and no debris field under a katabatic wind and slab avalanche conditions? And those are 2 terms that I'm not familiar with, so I'm hoping you know what they mean.
Yeah, I know what they mean. But this question is all over the place. What mechanism explains severe internal trauma, calm tent exit, and no debris field under katabatic wind and slab avalanche conditions? Well, nothing. There is no mechanism that will encompass all these things. Okay, so katabatic wind, at the time, I thought that katabatic is something like very specific. It's like microburst, but a very strong vertical wind or something like that, because there was a Swiss expedition. They explained to me that something happened. It's a tragedy that happened, but I'm not expert in this. You can look it up. That happened. So they went on expedition in 2019, the same year, I believe, that I was with the expedition and all. And they spent the night on the ridge, and they were expecting katabatic wind. But then I found out that all of these movements of cold air pushing warm air, creating very strong winds and very catastrophic events, they're all called katabatic. So it's just the common terminology that describes a lot of very frightening and very often little bad things that can happen meteorologically and create strong, extreme conditions. anyways, so the katabatic wind theory is that at that place there was they were really strongly attacked by wind event phenomenon that's very local. It cannot be measured by meteor stations and so on. So they ripped they had to get out very strongly and run. I don't know, you have to check the theory, but debris, if the question suggests that the tent was on the ridge where the katabatic event happened, debris would be splashed tent, right? Or just destroyed
Right.
tent. Because you can't be just, we're gonna cut up and run from the very strong stream and wind, but the tent is just, see, the tent was propped on ski poles. It wasn't even secured with any ropes. So, I mean, it cannot survive in the way that it was found a katabatic wind, the katabatic event. We're talking about bringing airplanes down. I mean, it cannot withstand and stay like that. And then if the tent was in the forest, I mentioned, I don't know if I was in live stream, I mentioned that the journalist that was on the location where the bodies were found, where the search camp was, described that there were dry leaves still on the trees, that there is a strong wind on the ridge, but there is no wind and it's very calm and serene. And he was trying to imagine what did the guys went through. He was thinking of he was under the cedar where Doroshenko were found, and he was seeing still dry leaves on the some trees. So on the Ryabina, I was trying to remember what in English is Ryabina, but anyways, this is another tree, not pine tree. And if there was no wind in the forest, there was no katabatic thing. So avalanche conditions, where it's obviously that an avalanche didn't happen because because the tent was sticking up. I mean, the urination traces were there, the footprints were there. I mean, avalanche, I don't have to explain you what an avalanche is. So because there is obvious that there is no avalanche, that's why everybody's talking about snow slab. That's a different thing. This is like a snow slab, and they're saying that the snow slab didn't even all the way through the tent, because obviously otherwise it's going to cover it. So snow slab, imagine it's like a wooden board that doesn't become turbulent like avalanche, because the avalanche is like the slab is just a portion of the slope moves, slides down. That's a slab. So everybody that's likes this theory, they're saying that the slab came and pushed partially the tent, so everybody inside the tent was kind of crushed, like the caved-in skull is because he was sleeping on his camera. I mean, I don't know why would he sleep on his camera, but this is how his... I mean, I'm repeating stuff that I don't believe in and I find ridiculous, but there are theories and serious men with PhD. I mean, they made a publication in scientific magazines about this snow slab model that came from Hollywood software that was mathematically proven, and they proved that a snow slab can happen there, which is fine with me, because snow slab can happen in any inclined surface where there's snow, not snow. So they prove that it can happen, not that it happened. This is even further away from a theory. It's like, that's a mountain, there's snow, snow slab happened. But that means that the snow slab made them cut open the tent. That I can agree with. If something makes me believe that there is going to be an avalanche, I will cut open the tent. Okay. So they jump out, and then they wait, they think, what should we do? I don't need my shoes, I don't need my hat. Let's go down where the avalanche is going to continue to go. Okay, but trauma, because the question includes the trauma, no one
Right.
crushed to death is going to go down for a mile in a direction in the dark that they don't know if there is a precipice, that there is a
Right.
what awaits them down there. And again, even if you go down, you stop at the first trees. You don't start going up again into a completely difficult
Right.
terrain, dragging bodies. No, because I have been there. I mean, you cannot imagine the terrain unless you go there and see how absurd this is if you have to survive to go all the way and do all this. And then they made a cache site on the other side of the pass. Why didn't they go there? Because they had supplies, skis, clothes, and they already knew the terrain and they could even use their trucks to go down. Why didn't, and they know how difficult it is to move in the snow. Why go into the direction of unknown to save the bodies, to save their friends? So it doesn't make sense to me. Katabatic avalanche means the tent is on the ridge. It means that they have to suffer the trauma there. If you tell me that they just got scared and went down, then name your theory about what killed them, not what scared them. Because to be scared and abandon the tent doesn't make you dead. Next
Well,
question.
so this is another question. Could it have been a Eurasian brown bear that was attacking them?
There's no signs of anything, no, nothing, no wounds, no nothing on them from animal. Also, bears usually sleep. I mean, I know that there are bears that cannot fall asleep, and they're the most dangerous ones because they're very hungry. They will do anything. They cannot sleep because they're hungry. They have a name for in Russia for bears like that, but usually they're very rare, and then there would be a fight. I mean, you can imagine a bear sitting. Okay, I'm gonna sit on your rib cage, jump on it, then jump on this one, then jump on this skull, and see no traces of fight or you know. I mean, someone would do something about fighting the animal, right? And also, well, a bear that's couldn't fall asleep, there is gonna eat you. That's for sure. There are no eaten parts of the bodies whatsoever. No bite mark. Nothing from animals.
Other than the missing tongue.
Well, a
But
bear
why
wouldn't
would it
start
only
with
eat
your
the
tongue.
tongue? Yeah.
A bear
It's,
usually eats you. I mean, it
yeah.
eats you. And also, that bear, if it's awake in the winter, she's gonna come back and eat you. I mean, at least one of them should be
Yeah.
eaten. Not, I mean, bears don't go just for the delicacies of the eyeballs and the tongue.
Right.
They're eating all of you.
Let's see. Were dogs used at all in the hunt
Yes.
for anything?
Yes, the Xena was found by dog. There were, I believe, 2 dogs. I mean, no one can say how many were the dogs because there were different shifts, but Ashkenazi knows at least one dog, remembers. But the dogs, here's the thing about the dogs. They were very quiet and unintrusive, and they were so scared. They say the moment they were taken down from the helicopter, they were stuck, glued to the leg of their trainer, and they were afraid that they're going to be left there. For some reason, they didn't like the place at all. The dogs behaved strange, and we even know the name of the dog that found Xena, Alta. And another thing about the dogs is that they suffer their paws were damaged by the rocks that were sticking out.
Mm.
These rocks in English are called sharks. I mean, because they're sticking out of the snow, they're very dangerous for skiers because when there's not enough snow, they just you may not see them. They're called sharks, and they damage their paws, so they had to put some covers on the paws of the dogs because it's
Mm.
all ice, it's all. So yeah, there were dogs used, but the dogs found only one of them, Xena.
Okay, so moving on here just a little bit. Let's see. This wants to know what evidence have you recently discovered on your trips there?
Yeah, that's why I keep going, not just to play my respects and commemorate on the death of the hikers. I mean, I have friends, but I wouldn't keep going twice a year and spend all the money just to go to one place there and not even reach Mampu Punero, which is a magical place. I haven't even been to Torten. I just go back to where the bodies were. That's my like uh, I I feel complete only when I go there. Uh, Something calls me to keep going there. The first
Mm.
time I went there, I didn't know what I was looking for. I mean, I had the theory about the tree. So when everybody was showing me, okay, here was the fire, here were the bodies, and everybody was sitting on a huge tree covered with moss. And I was like, they were, okay, here was the Roshango, here were the bodies. And I was like, wait a minute, what are you sitting on? What? This is a huge tree, and it's right there where the bodies were found. I'm like, okay, that's a perfect clearing for to pitch a tent, and there is a fallen tree. So I mean, without any hope, there was a guy with the incremental borer. I said, could you please take me a sample from this tree, big tree?
Mm.
Okay, sure. So he gave me the sample, and then I didn't know how dendrology works. So you have to actually have another sample from another tree to compare it with, but that's not enough for a rotten tree. So you have to have a lot of samples. And I took this core with me back. And also at this first expedition, summer expedition, I also saw two people with metal detectors. And I said, okay, can you please look under this tree with the metal detectors? One of the devices didn't make the sound, the other one rang. And now I found a tin can. So from my first expedition, I came back with a tree core and a tin can. And after the analysis, when I found out what I actually found, everybody was telling me that's a luck, like that's beginner's luck, because they have been looking there for 50 years, no one found anything, and that's the beginner's luck. So the tree core, well, fast forward, the tree core didn't show anything because I didn't have the bark, and that's
Mm.
rotten in the heart tree. So I had to go back with a different incremental borer, and I ended up cutting a whole slice of the tree. But at the end, the professor proved that the last ring is from 58, year 58, because you can count the rings, right?
Yep.
Comparing it with other trees, you can tell which year is what. And then in the photos from February, this tree is not showing anymore. It's under the snow because it's right where the bodies
Mm.
were photographed, and that tree is already under the snow. So I found a tree that fell January, February of 59. I proved that. That's so out of your mind that you can actually prove such a thing. And then the tin can is also was sold only in stores, so it could be bought by the civilians, not part of the military reserve. So it was cream. So I keep going there, trying to prove that the Dyatlov group camped where the bodies were found. And for this, I need a lot of metal debris from a campsite because in that time nothing was environmental. So all of the tourists to this day, they leave their garbage in the ground. They burn it, burn it so the bears don't attract the bears, but it's there. And there is good news and bad news. The good news is that the modern tin cans rot very fast. Like the tin can, because I keep finding tin cans around in the taiga, and I bring them back, and they turn out to be from 2016. And I actually know the people that camp there and threw their garbage, and I keep analyzing modern garbage, and that's the good news. The bad news is that they look more rotten than the metal tin cans from 59. Anyways, we found so many stuff left from 59 from the searchers and the Mansi and the students, but I have a way to distinguish which ones belong to who. I know Mansi people, friends. Valerian Yamov is my friend. I know searchers, Vladimir Ashkenazi, and not just him. Karelin, there's Steve Bartolomei, they're all my friends. I can ask them, did you bring that to, you know how amazing this is? I show them pictures of knives and axes and tin cans and buckets and braces and nails. And did you bring that? Yeah, I brought that. So they didn't take them back with them because they were heavy and they didn't have any use of them, and because no one cares about the environment. But everything stays in the ground. And the thing about the trees is that in Siberia and areas like that, they stay for a long time. They don't rot because of the climate. So I go there and I find things that I don't know if it's my theory that I'm proving. I just want to see if I can find evidence that they camp down there. Because bringing tin cans, and if there are other things that people find, like Luda's penknife and stuff, but if we find a lot of it, and it turns out that it's not that well searched area, because this is not where the groups go. They just go to the memorial plaque. They go exactly where in 59, I think they put the tent so nobody goes down, but I keep going down. And things are happening to me. I got lost twice. And the first time I met a bear with cubs. So yeah, and I still keep going because Dyatlov Pass affects people differently. There are people that nothing bad happened to them, but they get into a state where they think 3 hours, they stay there for 3 hours and they feel like they aged for 5 years, or they have to get away right away. Journalists, other people. There was one writer that was attacked by a bear, and after that he went only with other people, and he completely he stopped going because he wasn't feeling well anymore. He got sick after that. And on the contrary, I feel like, well, actually I feel very strange after this encounter with the bear, because I got very numb after that. For a long time, I felt like the bear ate me and I'm dreaming that I could be living. It was a very weird, yeah. But every time I go, it's magic. It's magic.
Have you ever, I was curious, have you ever taken anything to measure electromagnetic fields in the area?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, come on, this is Russian domain. They love their Geiger, their devices for radioactivity, for magnetic anomaly. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something now that
we've got about 10 seconds before we go to break, so let's hang on to that, and we'll get to it. We either in between or when we get back.
Okay.
So give me just 1 second. We're going to go to break here in just a moment. And this is, again, you're listening to Spaced Out Radio. All right. Free to talk for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
When you were talking about the feelings that you had after meeting the bear and people like, having a little bit of, feeling of missing time, it made me think about electromagnetic distortion, where, because high EM fields can actually, negatively affect how you feel.
Oh, for sure. But that's interesting thing to tell the audience too, because there is a theory. Actually, there is someone that experienced that. That there are things that follow him that move only when he looks at them. There are lights and things and strange things. And Ural, it's a very, very old mountain range. And when it cracks, because there are a lot of things that move the earth and stuff. So when it cracks, it creates magnetic distortion. And so I'm going to tell you now something. You decide if I should tell it to
Okay.
the audience. When I was shooting Expedition Unknown, at the time before it aired and after that, I'm sure that I was under disclosure, but I don't care anymore. I saw Josh Gates do the magic in real time, like he was deciding what to use, what not to use. He was keeping the whole project together, and he's great showman. He's a great person. I love him. I love Josh Gates. And one of the things that kept happening is that the technology was failing, like cameras were not working. And one of the things were the drone. One of the drones, like the drone hit a tree and fell down. And the operator said, okay, well, that was it for this drone. So they sent the Russians to recover the device. And the operator was putting everything in the box. And the Russians start shouting. They were just screaming something and showing something. And I'm trying to bring the light back, but it's not happening very well. So he said, I don't believe in Jesus, but what you see right now is the closest to resurrection that you can see, because the drone came on its own alive and start moving somewhere. He's like, the remote is in the box. Where is this drone going? So let's say the drone recovered somehow and remembered the last coordinates he was giving or something like that. But the thing, answering the question if there was a magnetic anomaly measured, it's all the time on every expedition. Every time compasses don't work, anything that the GPS that depends on this doesn't work. It's it's a common event, not all the time. It's not consistent. That's the thing. It does whatever it wants. And also the Russians have something that they call merechenie, which is like exactly the state where you become like a zombie. I know the feeling when I'm on a very exhausting trek and I have to go for a very long time, monotonous, like you go, and you just think one foot in front of the other, and you got into a state like that. And if the terrain is absolutely the same, monotonous like that, at some point you forget how long you have been going. And because you think of things, the meaning of life, stuff, and at some point you are completely like in a tunnel, a time tunnel, and they call this merechenie, where you go into a trance. You don't remember how long you have been, doing something, and usually, but again, it makes you feel not in control of things, but doesn't kill you. It doesn't even make you go for days and days and die because you can't remember to stop going. Nothing like that. It's just a state of mind. But then if
Okay,
you go to
we're
Ural,
coming back in 10 seconds.
okay.
Welcome back, everybody, to the last half hour of the third hour of Spaced Out Radio. I am Josh Rutledge, your host for the evening, filling in for the great Dave Scott. Again, we've got Teddy here with us from DyatlovPass.com talking about the Dyatlov Pass Incident. As always, or what we've been doing overnight tonight, we're going to get to some audience questions and see what's going on with Dyatlov Pass and Dyatlov Pass theories. Right before the break, though, we were talking about, and I had asked the question around the readings in the area around EMF, electromagnetic fields, because Teddy was talking about the an experience that she had with some bears and some bear cubs, and kind of an odd dream that she had after that experience and things. And so, Teddy, you were filling me in during the break about an interesting incident that occurred when you all were filming with Josh Gates and Expedition Unknown. Do you want to pass that on to the audience as well?
Yeah, that was my first Dyatlov Pass, and also my first participation during shooting a movie. So for me, everything was new. I didn't know anything, but I was told that it was again my beginner's luck, because you can see a lot of ugly stuff behind the scenes. And this team, I mean, Josh Gates is a big man. It's literally and figuratively. He made my wish come true. And because it was winter time, I was saying, and he's a big man literally, because we had to sleep, all 10 of us, in one tent, and if we were like next to each other like that, Josh Gates was alone, everybody. And I said, you're my Santa, you made my wish come true. And the rest are looking at him like, does that make us the dwarves or something? Anyways, so they were using drones, and I saw how Josh Gates, he just decides on the spot what to use, what to shoot, how to make the episode, because she's shooting in very difficult circumstances. Stuff is happening. And I was like so curious. I was absolutely on top of my game, and with Michael Beckin, we were so enthusiastic. Anyways, so the drone. I didn't understand if it's common so many things to not work. Like this camera didn't work, that drone didn't go, and then understood it's the magnetic anomaly. But that wasn't in the script, so Josh Gates didn't use it. So right now I'm gonna tell you what happened that was not shown in the episodes. So there was a drone. Everybody uses drones. They had more than one that hit a tree and fell down. So they said, okay, that's it with this drone. They sent the Russians, the support group, to retrieve the device, and the operator he put the remote into the box, and the Russians start screaming. And we looked there, and he told me, Teddy, I don't believe, I'm not a believer, right, religious, but that's the closest to resurrection that I have seen, because the drone, without the remote, anything, flew out and went someplace. So the operator said, if that's not artificial intelligence, I don't know where is this drone going. And then it turned out that it's exactly the magnetic anomaly. So it messed up with the memory of the drone, and he went after his last coordinates he could remember anything. Anyway, I believe we found the drone, spent half a day looking for the drone, but that was the magnetic anomaly. That was, since then, I'm used to this, devices not to work, GPS not to work, but it's not consistent. It's now it's working, now it's not working.
Yeah.
Another thing that we always carry with us is to measure for radioactivity, because when we cook, there is the people that don't eat meat, and then you have a next level who wants tried the mushrooms, because there is always someone that picks up mushrooms, and then we measure if they're radioactive, and then the water if it's radioactive, everything that's radioactive. So in a lot of pictures you will see the device and all of the things that we pick up from the forest, because the mushrooms is that the Russian roulette. I mean, you're not sure if you're gonna shit yourself or end up dead. I mean, it's so there is Olga. She was picking mushrooms. I said, "Do you know them?" She said, "Well, I know some of them," and that's why she split the pot into two. Those are the mushrooms I'm sure in, and those are, I guess they're okay, but you have to try them on your own risk. Anyway, radioactivity and magnetic anomaly are, well, we never measured any radioactivity, but magnetic anomaly is always, it's proven. A lot of people that are interested in the Dyatlov Pass are nuclear physicists, and they know what they're doing. So I mean, they give evidence that magnetic anomalies everywhere. And as I said, or I don't remember if I said it, I'm basing my theory on the magnetic anomalies, because this was what was considered a symptom of uranium. So there were a lot of geology expeditions, and they were using helicopters and aircrafts, and they were going along the magnetic anomalies, and they were using explosives to break the ground, sending ground groups to extract cores, measure for uranium. And this is I have pictures for exactly 59, when they're like, "Oh, we're gonna find uranium for the party. Oops, we found dead bodies, but never mind, we'll find the uranium." This is exactly what I think happened. And in the book, I have published maps of recorded flights over the area from the geologists.
It says, I'm going to try to read this. Do the native know anything about the behavior of the wild man around that area? And I think maybe this ties into the Yeti theory as well.
Yeah, they have their own word for that, something like menk. I think it was the menk. But it's more like they animate everything. For them, the mountain is alive, the trees are alive, everything has spirit. They have a lot of beliefs. You need this to entertain, because they didn't have, I mean, it's so like the same, the seasons, the winter, the mountains are not rugged, they're just very, so you need something, some stories, some tales. And they believed in a lot of things, and including the Menk. But I haven't heard of such a, how to say, strong talks and beliefs and accounts that they have seen the Menk, or that it was that killed the hikers. I mean, this is American theory, an American movie about the Yeti killer, the Russian killer Yeti. The trace of Yeti in this in the Dyatlov incident is because there is one photo that people see Yeti on it. It is someone. But if you see that photo, because it's not on focus, it's kind of a blurry, but you see the silhouette of something that looks like that. And if you don't know anything about the other photos from the film or anything about the case, you say seems weird. But the first thing that you have to see is that there is a track going to the Yeti. And that means that that Yeti came from where the photo is being taken. Like, okay, that's not Yeti following them, but there is a track that connects the Yeti with the person who is making photos. And then if you see the previous frames, you see that the people, one of the hikers, he fell in the snow, he's making the picture with the tripod, and he's playing, and then that looks like he made the photo on a timer, and he went into the distance, into the forest, or someone else made the photo while he was going to pee or something. And it's blurry because it's not on focus, because on these cameras you have to actually change the distance in which, so it's a blurry picture. That, and there is another photo of the same hiker who is cold, and he's exactly in the same position, because when you're cold, you're kind of hunched like this.
Yeah.
That's what
Make
the
yourself
Yeti
small.
looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not by the indigenous people so much that the Americans introduced this theory of the Yeti.
So we're going to wrap it up tonight. We're going to spend the last few minutes talking about what is your theory.
Coming from my trauma, because I was into high velocity car accident while coming down the volcano in Indonesia, not even in my country. There was no hospital, nothing. So we were going back on a truck and the brakes fell. So we smashed in the rock of the mountain, in the face of the mountain, and I was dead. They called me a priest. And I'm broken like the girl without tongue and eyeballs. So I'm like Luda Dubinina. If you Google Luda Dubinina rib cage, you're gonna see my x-rays, and that's why people think that they had x-rays back then. No, this is me. So I almost died, and ever since when I start investigating this case, it's the trauma. What caused the trauma? Because this is a high velocity. You have to actually something with a lot of speed to hit you, so it doesn't leave any trace, no bruising, no a single discoloration on your skin, no bones protruding anywhere, no bleeding, nothing, but inside your soup. I had broken scapula like chips, 6 broken ribs and 2 fractures. I have flailed chest. It's missing. And I had broken arms and legs and subdural hematoma. So I was dead, right? So everything after that is like a gift from above. And I know what can cause a trauma like that. I was hurt like she was. And it has to be something very heavy and with high speed velocity. And the only thing, and that came to me after Expedition Unknown, because I didn't know any, I couldn't figure out anything. I was the expert who has the archive of the case files. And then I saw where the bodies were found, and it's trees. And another thing, and I don't know what year was, but the date was 7/7. In Bulgaria, there was an incident with a tree that fell on top of a tent. And there were 2 people inside the tent. The woman died exactly like 20 minutes after the tree hit her. And actually, she was under the tree. The man couldn't do anything. He was screaming his head off because foam was coming from her mouth, and she couldn't breathe because the tree just fell on top of her. She wasn't broken because her knee was bent, and he actually stripped the flesh out from her leg, but there were no broken ribs or anything, but she couldn't breathe. So she died 20 minutes exactly from the impact. He was screaming like hell. So that gave me idea, what is the type of incident that can kill some of the people and leave the rest without anything, because the rest just had a minor like bruising, and when you fight to come out of the tent and some branches hit you on the waist, or like Slobody had a big fracture on the skull. So the wide variety of traumas could be explained with the huge tree with all its branches that fell on top of the tent, and then they had to cut it out to get out. So my theory, it's from two parts. The first one is brilliant, like the tent was supposed to be there. It makes all the sense, the tent to be there. The trauma was explained. I found the tree. I found the tree that that fell January, February 59. But then the second part of the theory is, well, why wasn't the tent found there? Why? Who moved it? Why? And then comes the rest of the strange things in this case. Why the date on the cover is 2 weeks before they were missing. So someone actually knew someone died and started asking questions. And then why is someone remembering bodies in the Ivdel morgue that was cleaned up and prepared for burial at the beginning of February, again, before they were even missing? So everything around that, I can only say is like no one killed them, someone moved them for some reason, which I cannot explain. I can only point who are the people closest to the investigation that had the means to do that. The motivation is they were afraid that will be blamed for something catastrophic that happened and got the public interest and focus, and they had to explain and do something. The party had to do something. They cannot, the response, well, they brought it on themselves, is not a good explanation. Someone had to be fired. And this is exactly what they did. They blamed Dyatlov for pitching the tent there. That was his fault. And then they fired 5 people from the sports club where the hikers were members. That's exactly what they did. So I think that someone that didn't want to be connected with the case. So my suspicion is geologists, because they were working there, because they were infiltrated in the investigation. And I cannot do anything about proving that second part of the theory, because unless someone speaks and says something that they witnessed that he knows, I cannot do any speculations. But I believe that I can prove that the Dyatlov group camped and spent their last night in the ravine, in the forest, not that the tent was not pitched on the slope. That's what I'm doing. That's my theory. But and I have a book in 4 languages, and that's not pitching you to buy it. It's I'll tell you why I'm mentioning the book. The book is called 1079 because this is the title in all 4 languages. Sounds the same. I mean, I don't have to translate it. And that's exactly what's in the book. It's all factual. What do we know happened? It's only in the last chapter, my theory. And then that book won the Russian Detective Award for documentary in 2024, and I was given on the Red Square my trophy for the book. So
that's great.
The Russians are taking me seriously. It's actually, I want to show you my award. Just a second.
Okay, that's fantastic.
This is my award. This is the name, my name, and my co-author, who didn't live to see the book because he died. We worked on the book. I didn't know that he has cancer, pancreatic cancer. He cleaned Chernobyl. He's nuclear physicist. He was genius, and he was a legend among the Russian researchers. And for some reason, he took me under his wing, and he mentored me how to research, how to work the case. And after Expedition Unknown, the Discovery Channel, they said, if you write a book, we have to see what you write about us. I said, what book? No way. And then they started publishing books about altitude sickness, Yeti, and stuff like that in English. I said, no way, Igor, we're going to write a book. He said, I don't know how to write a book, but I can tell you everything I know. He was feeding me information, documents, archives, everything. And then I was shooting a movie with a Swiss crew, and he stopped answering questions. And I just, for his birthday, the first printed book in English, I sent it to Russia. And I was thinking, oh my God, he's not responding. Is it so bad? Is it so bad? And then the Russian agent, they called and they said, we're not hearing back from him, and we need him for the Russian book. And I said, well, I know his address only because I sent him a book. And they went, and his wife said he died. That's how I learned that he died. He didn't see the book. So his wife asked me, what is this book he kept asking about? And I said, oh my God, go to the post office. It's there. So he didn't see it. So I'm the only author alive with this book. So I have to explain it to the world, the theory and everything.
Well, thank you for sharing that story with us. And if we talked a little bit earlier about near-death experience and out of body and such, and perhaps maybe he did see the book. If you believe in life after death, perhaps he did. And he's been there with you even as you continue your research and your investigation. So,
well, I don't know, how much time do we have?
We have about 35 seconds or so.
I had the adventure even finding his grave. So I brought the book to his grave. Actually, I brought him a pine cone from the cedar tree where the bodies were found after I went to the Dyatlov Pass, and I had the adventure there. Oh my God, that's another episode. I have to tell you what happened to me when I tried to find his grave. It's everywhere I turn when with the Dyatlov Pass, I go into some crazy stuff. It's like, and people are asking me when I am going to write about my life. Well, in order to write something, you have to stop living it.
So Teddy, I got to wrap things up here. Thank you all so much for tuning in for this episode of Spaced Out Radio. I've been Josh Rutledge, filling in for Dave Scott. This has been Teddy with DyatlovPass.com. Please check it out. She's got a lot of great pictures and research on the website. Thanks again for listening to and tuning in to Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. Thank you so much, Teddy. It was really nice meeting you tonight.
You're very welcome, Josh. I hope our paths cross again.
Hopefully,
I can
next
fly to you on a saucer.
Yep. No, it was a great get to hear about Dyatlov Pass, and I've been to your website several years ago when I was doing an episode about it for the podcast that I used to host. But I'm definitely going to have to check it out and see what else is new since I was last on there. So.
Oh, sure. Well, if you just drop a line, if you are looking for something, because the best thing that Igor Pavlov did for me, my mentor, the co-author of the book, is that he was pointing to me where to look, where to search. If there is like, he was my Google. He was like, and now I
Right.
feel like I have to help other people find the information in this area. It was very strange relation because I don't know anything about him. I didn't know if he's married, if he has kids, anything. Only Dyatlov Pass, everything. It was like a bubble about Dyatlov case, and we had the greatest relationship. He was my best friend, and I never heard his voice. We were exchanging like 50 messages a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have to help other people now.
Well, I mean,
kid.
You're very knowledgeable about the topic, I think that any help that you're willing to provide to help people figure things out and hopefully get to the truth one day, everybody's better off for it. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So good night, Teddy.
Good night, and Dave, get
good
well.
Good day, I guess.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. This has been Josh for Dave. Next time you'll have Dave for Josh, maybe. Thanks you all so much for tuning in tonight, for sticking with me. It was a great show, and I really appreciate the amount of participation that I got from the audience and the chat. Great questions. Sorry I couldn't get to all of them. I tried to kind of string them together in a nice flow, but some great questions out there. We got a lot of great information, a lot of good insight. So thanks again. This has been Spaced Out Radio, and I'm going to head off and go to bed. I've got a early in the morning meeting. So you guys have a great night, and I'll catch you on the flip side.